Guys, I know you're all busy playing Astrobot right now. I'm only asking for a moment of your time. Like you, I also value my time and would like to spend it playing Astrobot. But you know what they say about time? It is a wheel, and we sure do have to talk about it today. As I said I would, not nine months ago. Okay. That's fine. I'm still on track. How many Wheel of Time books did I say I would read this year? I hope to at least be finished the first 10 Wheel of Time books by the end of the year. Oh, that's not happening. Okay. Yes, might be a bit behind, might be a bit later than I anticipated, but I'm here today to give you a bit of an update on my journey through the Wheel of Time. Of course, Robert Jordan's epic magnum opus. We're doing the Dragon Reborn and Shadow Rising today. Now, I will not be getting into heavy spoilers on these books. However, now that we're getting deeper into the series, I mean just talking about, synopsises and general events and stuff, would be spoilers for people who aren't at this point yet. If you haven't read the series and just want to see what I think of it 4 books in, you'll probably be fine. Just use your own discretion, you know what's up. So last time we talked, I had just finished up The Great Hunt, which I thought was a significant improvement over the first book, Eye of the World, which I still liked, but it was very clearly Robert Jordan was just doing like his own take on Lord of the Rings. And The Great Hunt still had a lot of that, but it was like, really expanding, really improving, and becoming its own thing. I think what happened here after Jordan finished The Great Hunt was that he realized the potential that this series had. It did not just need to be a Lord of the Rings knockoff, albeit a very good one. It could be so much more. And how do we get there? Not much really needed to be done with our main character, Rand. He had undergone a pretty significant transformation in the previous 2 books and was at, a certain point now, where he could take this character in all the ambitious directions he wanted. However, most of the rest of the characters, as well as, this world that he has created, was not quite ready for that leap yet. So in a rather unusual move, we sort of say goodbye to Rand. For a significant amount of time. Yes, the Dragon Reborn, despite of course the title being a reference to Rand, features almost none of him. In fact, he decides to go off and do his own thing for this whole book, and we basically spend time focusing on the rest of our cast. Characters like Perrin and Moiraine, who are, going after Rand, trying to find him, because, oh my god, this guy's the Dragon Reborn, and he's off on his own, we gotta get him. Of course, the others, Egwene, Matt, Nynaeve, Elaine, whoever else is around, all have their own things to do, their own subplots going on. Like The Great Hunt, we're sort of splitting up a bit, following different groups of characters, though all to serve the greater purpose of the story of this book. And by the end, the scope collapses again, we're all back in one place with all the characters. But this time, things have significantly changed. A lot of these characters go through some much needed development. I was already enjoying a lot of the characters, but this book really, lets them shine, gives them a lot of time to grow, specifically with Matt, who was a character that was, incapacitated for most of the first and second books. So seeing him finally free of his evil dagger and, just getting to be himself was really great stuff. I really enjoyed Matt's character in this book. A lot of these characters can be frustrating in that, you don't always agree with them and often think they are sometimes acting a bit too rashly. However, what I appreciate about Jordan's writing is that you can always understand the mindset of these characters. It makes sense why Matt might want to escape the protection of the Aes Sedai, despite, that probably being the best place for him. As the readers, we also gain a lot of knowledge following the characters on this journey, because something else this book succeeded in was really fleshing out the world here. We're being introduced to more places, we got different factions, different races, all filling out this world that I thought was already well developed, but this book really starts to expand it. The thing about this book is, while I appreciate all the character development, and there are some great character moments in here, and I appreciate the world building, I just don't think that the overall narrative of this one was nearly as strong as The Great Hunt. I think Jordan set out to make a setup book for the next step, where the series could finally explode into the vision that he had for it, but this had to be done first, and I think it was needed and necessary, but as its own novel, I don't know if it was as engaging as it could have been. So this one actually ended up being my least favorite of the series so far. I gave it a 3.5, which is not a bad score at all, but I was just a tad disappointed after The Great Hunt, but that was okay, because because I knew I had this thing waiting for me. The Shadow Rising. That's right, before the minions helped Gru rise, it was all about the Shadow. As you can tell, this is a very long one, almost 1,000 pages, and the leap that I was alluding to, you know, this big, ambitious vision for the series Jordan had. This is that leap. What do I mean by all of this? Well, right away, from the start of this book, you can tell that Jordan seems to have a newfound confidence in his work. We are picking up where the last book ended. We got all the characters in the one place, but right off the bat, things are just moving. We're checking in with all the characters, learning new things. There is a ton of action, and it slowly starts to do away with a lot of its aspects and cliches that were sort of, you know, drawing those Lord of the Rings comparisons. This is where the series, like, really started to come into its own for me, and I started to see the vision. I started to see, you know, why people gush about this. And people do gush about this, okay? This is probably one of the most celebrated fantasy books. A lot of people consider it to be the best in the series, the best book Jordan has written, and it's not hard to see why, especially, like I said, from the start, you know, it is just firing on all cylinders. And, you know, I gotta say, like, probably the first third of The Shadow Rising is easily the best part of the series for me so far. Obviously, it doesn't have the craziest moments like the later climax has, but it was so non-stop, there was never a dull moment, everything was super interesting. But then something happens, something that has been happening in these books. All of the characters get their own little side quest, and they gotta split up. Rand's gotta go to one place to do some Dragon Reborn nonsense, and Matt decides to go with him. Nynaeve and Elaine are off hunting Black Aja, you know, like the evil, the bad Aes Sedai. Perrin learns that there might be some trouble back home, so he heads back to the Two Rivers. And we also spend some time with Min at the White Tower. These 4 subplots all work together to make up the meat of The Shadow Rising. And they work to continue developing these characters and continue to expand the world, which seems to be happening at an exponential rate, because right now, things are just gigantic. There's so many locales and characters and stuff to keep track of. Just every new chapter, it seems like we're just introducing more concepts and more characters. We're really seeing just how much effort Jordan put into this world. And the book does such a good job juggling these 4 plot lines. Despite the immense girth of this book, I never felt bored. Whenever we've been following a plotline for a while, you think you might start to get bored with it. Well, then we check back in with another. And they're all sort of building at the same time. And I think all 4 of these plotlines were really, really well done. And the stuff with Rand learning the history of the Aiel, Perrin going back to the Two Rivers and sort of being forced in this leadership position he does not want. Nynaeve and Elaine dealing with all that Aes Sedai stuff. It's all just very interesting and very well paced. And Jordan builds up all of these stories together, so when we reach the end, we're just getting climax after climax, and there's so much crazy stuff happening. It's like, oh, this is a crazy end to the book, wasn't it? Oh, well, there are 3 more! You see, unlike the other books, you know, all of these plot lines do not converge at the end. We sort of just leave all of these characters here to pick up later. Judging by the lengths of the 5th and 6th book, I imagine they're kind of going to be similar. And I have heard that this whole thing of, you know, separating the characters for, you know, long periods of time and continuing to expand the world might come back to hurt the series. I don't know for certain, but I know what people say about some of the middle books. But I think in this book, it was extremely well done. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Still not, like, I still wouldn't consider this one of my favorite series. I do think just in general, you know, like, there are a lot of aspects that I just think have been done better elsewhere. While there's a lot of great stuff in this book, there were never any moments that made my jaw drop and go like, this is the GOAT, this is the best thing I've ever read. I can definitely see why it might be for some people, but for me it's just not quite at that level yet. But I am still pretty overwhelmingly positive on The Shadow Rising, and if you've started the series and are enjoying it and have not read The Shadow Rising yet, I think you will be too. At the same time, I know a lot of fans like to say that The Shadow Rising is when the series becomes really great, and you know, if you were struggling through the first few books, this is when you might finally get hooked. For me, that I don't know if that's the case. I think if you read the first 2 books and you're not into it, I don't think you're going to be into the rest of the series. Yeah, yes, it does. Like, I mean, The Shadow Rising, it's really excellent stuff, but like, if you're not already invested in these characters and this world, like, this story might just not be for you, and that's okay. But as for me, love the book, cannot wait to read more, and I'm hoping I'm definitely going to try getting through the Fires of Heaven. I know it was on my summer TBR. Being realistic here, I gotta be true to myself. Probably not getting read in the summer. But I at least want to have that one completed, and God willing, I'll have the sixth book started by the end of the year. It is and has always been my ultimate goal to finish this series by the end of 2025, which I definitely think is doable, but I kind of do have to increase the pace, so... Thank you all for watching. You can leave your thoughts on anything Wheel of Time related in the comments down below. Be mindful of spoilers, of course, nothing after The Shadow Rising, please. And I will see you all next time, which will either be a Stephen King triple feature or the My Hero Academia review. I'm like halfway through it. I still have a while to go, but I'm hoping the rest goes pretty quickly because it's like a lot of long war arcs and stuff. But yeah.